is the key for a more creative and groundbreaking solution to a problem. So outside the lab, Jia Yong is an avid home cook and a food enthusiast. To him, doing research is like cooking. You need to plan, get the right materials, optimize the method, enjoy the outcome, and finally do the cleaning. Okay, we often leave the cleaning part, right? But he believes that everything that you begin has to have an end and it has to be cleaned up, right? Okay, let me get this wait, I forgot how to do this. Okay, I pass this slide to, sorry, I pass the floor to Lam Jia Yong. Welcome, Lam Jia Yong. You may share your screen now. Thank you.
Okay, good evening, everyone. Thank you, Dr. Sharinas, for the elaborate introduction. Yeah, the cleaning part is the worst part in doing research.
True, true.
So basically, during my tertiary study, I've been dealing with a lot of research work. So as you can see, the research that I did is actually multidisciplinary. It ranges from chemistry to biology to genetics and to engineering, which is what I'm working right now in my PhD project. So by the looks of it, by the way we describe the research, it seems very technical and not many of us can actually get a grasp of it. So basically, this is where I keep on improving my skill to talk about science in a much more simplistic manner. So today here, it's not much about teaching you how to communicate in science, but actually my experience thus far up to now on how did I cope with talking about science in different stages in international and as well as in local, as well as to different kinds of audience. So just to share my experience, just my 1 cent or two. So I'll begin with a story. So actually there was this child, very shy, very introvert. And there was once when he went to the market, and you know, in Malaysia, all those aunties and also uncles, well, they want you as a child to call them aunties and uncles. You need to greet them. It's like the unspoken rule. You have to greet them. So there was this child that is very shy. So whenever he went to the market with his mom, he was like hiding behind his mom. And he would not say anything. He would not greet. So to those aunties and uncles, he seemed like a very rude, very ill-mannered child. Well, that child is me. I'm a very shy and very introvert person when I was little. And I would say that during now, I am also a bit shy. But somehow I try to keep away my shyness and try to, because I'm working in the scientific field, I cannot be shy. I have to speak with everyone. So this child eventually tried to take a brave leap into speaking competition. So instead of signing up for the public speaking competition, during primary school, he signed up for a choral speaking. So a choral speaking is actually like a group of people all together speaking at once. So it's not as nervous as public speaking. So that is where I try to improve my speaking skills. So when I went to university, there was this first class where we have to do a very casual presentation on what we envision for the future. So that is where I realized that, oh, this is the level that I'm in right now. I can confidently speak in front of a large audience, and I can speak very loud. So that is where I tried to, I kept on signing up for conferences, symposium, and seminars to keep on building my skills. And there was this one time during my final year project. Well, just like you all have this 5 minutes FYP competition. And by the way, thanks for inviting me. Thanks to the organizer for inviting me to do this sharing session. So during that FYP session, we have this some kind of mini symposium where we have to present our scientific findings to judges. So to me, that is the point where I hit rock bottom. So because that is my first time doing scientific presentation in front of a bunch of professionals. So in that symposium, I received a very hurtful but very true feedback. So the allocated time was actually 15 minutes to present, but somehow I exceeded the time limit. Not by 1-2 minutes, but by 7 minutes. So my presentation was 22 minutes. And from there, I received a lot of feedbacks that this is not how you should do a scientific presentation. In scientific presentation, you should tailor down. It's not necessary to put all the content of your thesis into the presentation. You need to highlight what is the important and what is your point of doing this research. So that is where I was feeling depressed that time. And then that night I realized, okay, it was a very mixed feelings moment. So that is the moment where I say, I have to pick myself up. I have to keep improving myself if I want to continue in this road in scientific research. So yeah, and ever since then, every symposium, every conference, and every seminar I attend, I take their feedbacks into serious consideration and to improve my presentation skills in the next stage. So this is my journey thus far. So ever since then, I have participated in a lot of conferences, but recently, the most recent one during my PhD year is I participated in the 3-minute thesis competition. But unfortunately, I was not able to go into the national final. I only managed to go into the university final, but I'm not sure how the placing was, but the champion was actually Dr. Yasmin, who will be your, I believe, who will be your next speaker for the next session in the coming weeks. So she was very good. Yeah. You can learn a lot from her. In fact, she is also one of my mentors for my recent thesis. It was during 3-minute thesis, I realized that scientific research, you should not only present to professionals who understand the basis or the principle behind it, but in 3-minute thesis, actually the goal is to communicate your research to the larger crowd, to the public. Because during 3-minute thesis, I even have one of the judges who is actually a TV3 celebrity. So I don't think he has any idea of what is the scientific principle behind it. He just wants to know, what are you doing? How do you do it? And why is it the thing that you're doing is important? So that is the three main essence of it. And then after that, after the 3-minute thesis, I signed up for the materials lecture competition. So my supervisor actually sent me the invitation and say, hey, you participated in 3-minute thesis before. Why not you just go for this one? This is the longer version, 15 minutes version, but you still have to simplify your research into very layman because the audience will be a mixed crowd of the public and also professionals from different various fields. So during MLC 2019, I managed to win it and represented Malaysia to the international edition, which is the Young Persons World Lecture Competition. So last year, this competition was held in London, UK. So I went there and basically these are all the participants from all around the world. We have from Russia, Suleiman, and also Michael from Australia, Tamlin from South Africa. This is Chua from Singapore, Franklin from Hong Kong, Megan from UK, and Morgan from Canada, and also Tiago from Brazil. So we had this 1-week adventure in London. So mingled together, and then only until the last day, it was the real competition. So it's trying to keep us not to be too tense, I will put it that way. So we enjoy ourselves, and then only do the competition later. Yeah, so basically I'm going to just share some tips that I have learned in my journey so far. So rule number one, lesson number one that I learned thus far is actually to exercise empathy. So as a presenter, we need to put ourselves into the audience shoes. You need to identify actually who is your audience. Your audience could be policymakers. Your audience could be celebrities. Who knows? Maybe your audience could be young primary school children. I'm going to share later a slide where I did a presentation against the primary school student. So you need to identify your audience and you need to know why are they here? What is the purpose of them being here? And what do they know about? So you need to know, to how in-depth or how superficial their knowledge about what you're going to talk. And then what do they think they know? What do they want to hear? And what do they care about? For example, if you're talking about policymaker, all they care about is whether your solution is going to be translatable into the larger public, to the society. If you're talking to funders, like research funders, all they care about is how much money do you want? And then what will they respond to? So actually, these are all the very important questions that you have to ask yourself to exercise empathy and put yourself into their perspective and think in their way. So during the Young Persons World Lecture Competition, we did a visit to primary school. And similarly, with you all, we have to do a 5 minutes presentation to primary 6 pupils. So yeah, in the picture, that was me trying to catch the attention of these enthusiastic and curious minds of these year 6 pupils. It was not an easy task. It's very different from talking to adults. To these young kids here, it's even, I would say it's even more difficult. Actually, it's not just Nila. All of them, all of us feel that it's very difficult. But actually, when you know that your audience is this primary school student, you have to know what do they know about. So there was this contestant from Hong Kong, Franklin. Well, he knows they are primary school students, so they might be interested in cartoons. So Franklin started his presentation with a cartoon reference. So he asked them, do you all know about Thomas the Tank Engine? So Thomas the Tank Engine is actually the cartoon train, because Franklin is actually working on a tunneling project for trains. So that is why he started with that reference. So another clever attempt by Michael here from Australia. So, well, kids love sweets, right? Sweets and any kinds of things that are sweet. So Michael here just asked them, do you all like jelly beans? So immediately the crowd goes wild. He caught the attention of these primary school students in his first sentence. So, so that's why it is important for us to identify the audience, because our presentation can be tailored to this audience. So if it is a general public, maybe we can just take, for example, a very recent case, a very recent news, and then we just speak it out loud. Do you all know about COVID-19, let's say? So that is how we identify our audience and also tailor our presentation according to the crowd. So by the way, I did very badly in this. I did very badly in front of these year 6 pupils. So I'm not sure, maybe it's because I speak too scientifically. Yeah. So that is where I try to make my presentation even much more simplified for the kids to understand. But eventually I ended my presentation here strong lah. I tell them just repeat after me, because it's try to instill scientific education in them, try to instill curiosity in them to do science. So I just end the presentation with, when I say science, you say rock. So science rocks, science rocks. We just keep on repeating like that. Yeah. So, okay. Then the second thing that I learned so far is actually the 3 C's. So these 3 C's is actually a key to a successful presentation. These 3 C's comprise of content, clarity, and also charisma. Content and clarity is actually reliant on the story, whereas charisma is actually reliant on the storyteller. So inside the story, your content must be accurate. As I said just now, you must exercise empathy, so your content must suit the audience. And then clarity, you need to have a very critical, effective, it is very critical for effective science communication. So you need to structure your presentation to enable your audience to follow the talk easily. So audience should be left with a full comprehension of your presentation. They are not leaving with even more question marks on their head. They need to understand what you're doing. So that is how you instill curiosity into them, into listening to your presentation. And then for the storyteller, the charisma. So actually, the winner, the champion, will be a charismatic presenter, very charismatic, who will make science easy to listen to, not very scientific, and it must be entertaining and exciting at the same time. But more importantly, they have to share their passion to the crowd. So this part here, because what you're doing, the research that you're doing, or any scientific work that you're doing, you know you are the master of it. Only you know the best of what you're doing. But you need to share your passion when you're doing this research to the larger crowd, so that they know, okay, this is what you're doing, and I'm very impressed with what you're doing. So that is why you need to share your passion to them, so that they can feel that you are actually doing something very meaningful. So yeah, remember these 3 C, the content, clarity, and also charisma. And then the third thing that I learned is actually what is a good, what is the structure of a good presentation. So actually there are comprised of 4 parts: the hook, the intro, the key message, and also the end. But all 4 of these, you have to build around a central idea. So you have to explain it clearly and thoroughly. This central idea is something like, for example, you are working on the development of a drug for let's say COVID-19. So your central idea is COVID-19. Do not focus on the development of drug as your central idea, but COVID-19 is your central idea. And from there, you build your hook, intro, key messages, and also the end. So I will go through it one by one. I'll start with the hook first. So actually this hook here is to pique interest, to stimulate interest of your audience. So there are a few ways you can begin your presentation with. You can either begin with a short story, like I did just now, or you can begin with a belief statement. So a belief statement is something like, I choose to be successful. Or maybe just I am the master of my own blender. So if you all watch The Big Bang Theory, and another one, I think by the look of the photo, you know what is he going to say. So do you know what is he going to say? I am. So you can actually start your presentation with something like that. Or maybe if you are it means if you have a sense of humor, you can just start with some humor. So actually you can see how those stand-up comedians begin their show, their comedy show. So actually they start off, I mean, the whole show is actually a joke lah. So they start off with a humor, of course. Or maybe you can start off with a rhetorical question. So an example of rhetorical question is you can ask, a rhetorical question is actually a question with an obvious answer or without any answer. So you can start off with like, what is the meaning of life? Or maybe, why do we go on? Something like that. So these are all the rhetorical questions that can stimulate the interest of your audience. Or maybe you can start with provocative statement. So I like to use Donald Trump for this example. So some provocative statements are such as what Donald Trump said: "You're fake news. COVID-19 is fake news." Or maybe the ones that he did was, I'm gonna build a wall. No one's gonna build it better than me. I'm gonna build it so well, believe me, I will have Mexico pay for that. So that is the kind of statement that is going to stimulate the interest. Or maybe you can start off your presentation with shock and surprise. So there was this one time when I attend the 3-minute thesis. This contestant actually, he started off his presentation with a sound effect. So the sound effect, actually, sorry?
Si pengawal kami, kanya kami nyundal, nyungsap, gam semua tu. Dahil kami tengirup semua orang dijajai pengawal.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
Sorry about that.
It's okay, no worries. So where was I? The shock and surprise. So actually that contestant, he started off with a sound effect. So that sound effect is actually boom. So immediately the whole crowd goes silent and listen to him. So this is particularly useful when you are doing a presentation competition, or maybe a presentation with a lot of participants, with a lot of presenters. So sometimes during the transition, when you're switching to the next presenter, there may be some who is swayed away and not listening to presentation. So you can use shock and surprise to instigate their attention back to you. So that is actually, I find it quite useful. Or maybe you can start off with, actually you can do a hybrid between provocative statement or also a shock and surprise. Like for example, if one day, let's say one day, our Prime Minister suddenly started a statement with, "We are going into MCO." So immediately that will catch your attention, because you know that is something very relatable back to you, and that is something very shocking, surprise, and it will instigate your attention back to the Prime Minister. Okay, so that is about the hook. So you need to start strong. And then now we come into the intro. So in the intro, you actually have to prepare your audience for the content that you are going to present to them. So this intro has to be relevant back to the hook that you just presented just now. So it has to be relating back to the hook. And most importantly, inside the intro, you need to tell them why do they need to listen to you. So it's not like saying, "Oh, this is important. Global warming is a very important issue, so you should listen to me." So that is not how you try to instigate that they need to listen to you. You cannot just say this is important. But you must focus on the relatable aspect. So do you remember when I say rule number 1, empathy? So you need to relate what you're going to convey to them back to what they understand. You cannot just say COVID-19 is a real issue. No, you can just relate it back to them. So maybe just let them question themselves. What if one day you contracted COVID-19? That is something like you're trying to relate it back to them instead of pointing out what is important. So in these kinds of presentation, you always have to interact back with the audience. So that's why empathy is very important here, so that they know, oh, you are talking with me, you are talking about me. It's not like you're just presenting some scientific facts. Okay, so, and then the intro right now is the key message. So inside the key message, you have to find the right balance. This is what I learned from my previous experience. So your key message has to be fresh. That means you're conveying new stuff. Of course, we are doing research, so that's why we have new stuff. Maybe perhaps a new way of thinking. And contemporary examples are something that is happening in the current situation. So you're the contemporary, that means the current the current situation in the environment. And then your key message has to be relatable. So I cannot stress more about this, because relatable is definitely a must in your presentation. It's very related, it's very correlated with the exercising empathy. So it has to be stuff that they are familiar with, or maybe some experience that they shared with you. And most importantly, it has to be relevant to their daily life. And then your key message has to be actionable. It should be, the way you convey the message is to be a very useful knowledge to them. And at the end of the presentation, it will alter their perception or maybe alter their behavior. Okay, so it's not like you're just dumping all your scientific data to them, but actually they should be aware of what you're doing and how it can affect them. Okay, so inside the key message, I actually would like to introduce this chunking effect. So chunking effect is something I will demonstrate here. So let's say I have a term, Panadol. If I want to chunk down Panadol, that means to make it much more specific, it can be Panadol Activas. What if I chunk down even more further? It becomes paracetamol. Or maybe sometimes we call it acetaminophen. What if I chunk down even more? It becomes very much informative already. It is actually, paracetamol is actually made of N-acetyl-para-aminophenol. So you see, when you're chunking down, you're making things much more specific, much more informative. But what if you're chunking up? Panadol is a fever medication. You take it during fever. Fever medication is actually a drug. And what does drug do? Drug can either benefit your health or harm your health. So this is where I'm going to give another example. This is very pharmaceutical. I'm going to give another example which is much more closer to us. Proton. Let's say you have the word proton. Okay, if you want to chunk down proton X50, well, because that is the trend right now. X50 is going to come out in the next few months. And what if you chunk down further? Can you go much more specific than X50? Well, you can. Proton X50 1.5. What if you go down even further? Proton X50 1.5 TGDI flagship model. So that is, you're getting much more specific. From Proton to the newest car that they are going to launch, and this is the top range variant of the car that they're going to launch. But what if you chunk up from Proton? Well, obviously it's a car. And what is a car? It's a vehicle. And what does a vehicle do? it allows you to move. So you see, when you're chunking up, it becomes much more relatable back to you. But when you're chunking down, it becomes much more specific. But nevertheless, you have to find the right balance between chunking up and also chunking down. Because when you're chunking up, it becomes much more relatable, but at the same time, it is much more vague, and also it is agreeable, because most of us know what are these. But when you're chunking down, it becomes much more informative, and there will be much more residual para-aminophenol, I mean, sometimes even paracetamol. And then, for example, the exact model name of Proton X15, not much people know about it. But when I say Proton, okay, everybody knows about it. So when you're chunking down, it only raises more questions. But nevertheless, both of these chunks are important, whether you're chunking up or you're chunking down. You need to find a balance between these two, depending on your crowd. Is it suitable to go much more chunked down or chunked up? Okay. So actually, I find this actually quite useful. I use this in my previous presentation as well, because this is how I use this strategy here to develop my analogy in my presentation. So because I believe in your 5 minutes FYP competition, you need to develop analogy so that the larger crowd can understand what it is that you're doing. Okay. So still continuing with the structure of a good presentation, now we are coming back to the end. So you need to, actually in the end, you need to give closure. Leave them satisfied, leave your audience satisfied. So think of this like you're having a 3-course meal. So the end is actually the dessert. So yeah, there's some technical error here. So I covered the dessert here. So actually, once you had dessert, you will be very satisfied and you're leaving the restaurant. So the same goes to your presentation. You need to leave them satisfied with your ending. So usually you can start with a well-known quote. So for example, like this one from Barack Obama. It's very inspirational and it's very close to heart. Or even something like this, something like what Nelson Mandela once said, it always seems impossible until it's not. Actually, I used this quote in my previous presentation in the ending of my presentation, because in my research, I was trying to make use of something which we cannot think of doing. I mean, that something is not capable of doing any diagnostic purpose. But in my research, I modify it to become it's possible. So that's why I put this quote at the end of it. It always seems impossible until it's done. It's very powerful, this quote here. Or maybe you can just end your presentation with a personal response, or maybe a provocative statement like the ones that I mentioned. I always like to use Donald Trump for provocative. I'm not sure why. Or maybe right now the trend could be visual, or maybe a meme, a treat statement, a pun, but usually people will choose the last one, connect to the opening. So it's like a full circle, so you have closure on it. You're relating back to the problem of your research and also your objective of your research. So usually people choose this one. But nevertheless, you have to remember that every good story has a great ending. Don't leave your audience hanging. Give them closure. Okay, so another thing that I learned in my previous experience is actually to design analogy. So basically there are only 3 steps here. You need to define, and you need to identify the basic idea and also apply it in everyday's life. So for example, here, this part here, let's say, because I myself is based in biology. So the example here, I tend to use biology term here. So for example, protein production, when you're explaining it into simple English, it is actually a process in our body of using some kind of starting material to produce end product. So the basic idea here is actually production process. So how do you translate it back into daily life? So in daily life, it could be something like cooking. So you have starting material, like all the vegetables or maybe all the salt and pepper that you put in. And then ultimately you have the end product, which is the dish. So, and then the next one is immune system. So immune system in everyday English, it is actually a human defense system that protect against disease. So from there, you can roughly get the idea is actually protection and also defense. In daily life, it is actually analogous to our army, our armed force, protecting and defending the citizen from any invasion. So the same goes for immune system. They are protecting and defending our body against any invasion of pathogen or maybe microorganism. So, and then the next one, I try to put in this one here just to make it much more relatable, since I know most of you are from engineering background and also IT background. An engine sealer. So basically it is a material that is used to seal parts in the engine. So actually the idea is actually joining things together. In our daily life, it is analogous to a super glue. Okay, so you can use these tips here to design your analogies. You don't need to like because before I know these steps here, what I did was I key in Google, what is the analogy of immune system in daily life? So actually that is a very lazy and also a very lazy method that I use. But actually I find this is very useful. You define it, you find the basic idea, and then you apply it in your daily life. This is much more easier and much more straightforward. So you can use this method to construct your analogy. Okay, so so this is actually a slide that I got it from my presentation. So this is how I developed a surface functionalization on the optical fiber. So surface functionalization, to some people, it seems very scientific already, but it's actually to functionalize the surface of the fiber. So I use a burger as an analogy. So this bare fiber here, bare optical fiber, is actually the bottom bun of the burger. And then we put in chemical like sodium hydroxide, so which is the patty of the burger. And then for more very sophisticated, very complicated chemical process here. And then I use a cheese there. And then so on, any sorts of vegetables or even a very large tomato. And then finally, the DNA probe. So yeah, that is what I did in my previous presentation. So, and then from here, I say that the burger is actually the bait to entice human to eat them. So for this thing here that I developed here, it is actually a bait to target with the thing that I want to target. So maybe right now you cannot get the gist of it because this is just a slide from my presentation. Actually, you have to go through the intro part until the end part. Only then you will get it is what I'm trying to convey here. But actually, you can change all these very sophisticated, very sciencey stuff into something very common in our daily life. Okay, and then for the next part, slides. I mean, slides is very important because when you're doing presentation, slide is very important. But don't think of slides as your main reference to convey the message. It's actually a very supporting material in your presentation. So that's why in your slide you have to keep it simple, less text, less bullet points, and it's very important to have plenty of white space, unless if you're trying to put a picture, the whole picture as your slide. So, but keep in mind of the white space here, because sometimes when you're trying to go for very bright color slides, it will take away the attention of the audience from you to your slide. So they are just focusing on your slide instead of what you're talking. But actually you are there for them to listen to what you're going to talk, not to see your slides. So, and then when you're designing slides, sometimes it's great to include pictures, because sometimes great pictures are priceless. For example, like this one here. So one day this pawn might be the king. So these are something, as what they said, a picture is worth 1,000 words. I mean, that is very true. And then when you're designing slide, there will be very ups and downs, but you will be very confused, very baffled as to whether or not you should change your slide, because sometimes you're afraid that you might change for the worse. So you're trying to play it safe. You do not want to change your slide. But I can only give an advice is that don't be afraid to change your presentation slide. I did a lot of editing when I was doing the international competition in London. So don't be afraid to do that. Sometimes that change might be good. And then this is all very basic stuff. Think about the contrast and color. So light background are usually easier on the eyes. And please avoid fonts, something like this. Avoid font and background that are similar. It's very hard for the audience to look at it and fonts that do not reflect your presentation. I mean, these are all, if you're presenting a poem, then you can use this one, these fonts here. And always be aware of inconsistent font size. And more importantly is the consistency across the slides. You need to maintain the style and also the consistency. Okay. And then another thing that I learned is, so right now it's on the storyteller already. It's no longer the content. Right now I'm moving towards the storyteller, which is the presenter. So the things that I've learned here is actually to improve the charisma. So if you can see this pie chart here by Dr. Albert, actually there is a 7, 38, and 55% rule. These are all the elements of personal communication. So you can see that spoken words is just 7% of it. What's more important is actually your voice, your tone, and also your body language. So which is why how you say something is actually have more effect than what you say. So you need to have all those body language and also the voice and tone. When you're stressing something important, speak out louder. So when you're speaking about something serious, then act serious. So these are some of the tips from what I learned previously. So these are all non-verbal, because right now, as I said just now, voice, tone, and body language are much more important than the way you use the spoken words. So that's why you need to keep in check your posture. Make sure you're in a very comfortable posture, upright when you're speaking, speak confidently. And then your hand gesture, you need to keep open and loose. So it's not like when you're presenting something, you're not like closing yourself to the audience. Okay? You need to keep yourself open and speak to them with confidence. And eye contact, actually, if there are many alternatives to this, but actually you have the 3-second rules. You can focus on the eye on a person for 3 seconds. Don't go longer. Otherwise, if you go longer, that person might feel that, what are you trying to do? Are you trying to do some harm to me, or are you trying to are you interested in me? So don't go longer than 3 seconds. 3 seconds is just nice. If you feel that you have stage fright and you're not you have the fear of looking into other people's eye, you can just, look at the forehead of them. Okay, don't focus on their eye, because sometimes we might feel uncomfortable looking into other people's eye and other people's eyes. So you can just look at their forehead or maybe the tip of their nose. Yeah, this is very useful. So when I first did my presentation, I actually had stage fright. I'm very afraid to talk to a large crowd. So I focus on a few person that I'm comfortable to look at, and then I look at the tip of their nose. So it's very useful. And then, as I said, facial expression is very important when you are stating something very serious. Just be serious. Okay? Don't smile, don't laugh, but serious. And when you're stressing something very sad, then just be sad about it. Okay, and so because this presentation position on stage and movement is actually applies to real life presentation, but I think this can also be applied when you're doing a virtual competition. So you need to find a place where you're very suitable to move around. It's very important that you move, okay, but don't move too much. Okay, you can just maintain at the same axis, but change your orientation. Maybe sometimes left, and then sometimes right, or maybe sometimes center. Okay, and then very important is you need to have pauses. You need to pause between important points, and your volume. You have to adjust your volume according to the points that you're trying to convey. If you're stressing something very important, like in this research, I found that so you can just speak out louder when you're speaking about very important points. And then your intonation is not monotonous. It has to be, okay, I am trying to tell you something very important. So that is that kind of intonation that you need to have. You need to sound that confident, and you're trying to convey a very important message to them. But actually, after considering all this, once you have all this, you manage to improve your presentation skill. Actually, the most important part is to be yourself. Okay, don't try to be someone. If you're trying to be someone you are not, you're going to make yourself even much more tense, and your presentation will not be as good as when you're being yourself. Okay, so I understand most of you will be doing a virtual competition, and the first semi-final part will be a video submission part, if I'm correct. So in the video submission part, you need to take consideration of the few things: your camera placement, the lighting and background, the sound, audio, and also the internet connection only if you are doing the live competition. So actually, this is what the photo that I took before my competition in London. So actually, this room here is dedicated for filming. Because in the Young Persons World Lecture Competition, we actually divide into two parts. One of it is a pre-recorded version, where this pre-recorded version will be published in public, so the public can access all these videos here of the presentation. And then the second one is the live presentation. So this one here I did is for the filming progress. Is for the filming purpose. So you can see that inside the room is actually well lit. So instead of using normal light that we have, they actually open up the window, open up the curtain, and let the natural light go in, so that it will be very clear when they are recording your presentation. So it is also very important to know that you're in a very quiet environment and only your voice can be heard. So that is how you make sure that your recorded version is of good quality. Okay. But nevertheless, when you're doing the pre-recorded version, I know, because of course there will be no audience. But you must always remember, what if there is audience in front of you? Because only that way you are able to present you are able to present your presentation that is meant for the audience, not for the camera, but for the audience. So you must always imagine that your audience is in front of you. Okay, and then there are also other things to consider, but these are all the highlights that I want to highlight. First impression is critical, so you need to start strong, and remember the hook there. So that is the place where you can start strong. So immediately, the moment when you speak, because 5 minutes is actually very fast. 5 minutes, the 5 minutes FYP competition, the 5 minutes is actually very fast. So the moment when you start talking, you already want them to be inside your presentation, be inside of what you're trying to talk about. So that is why you need to start strong. For the attire and looks, actually neutrality is the safest bet. Don't dress up too fashiony. Too diva. Just be neutral and just be yourself. So any actions that you did during the presentation, for example, any hand gesture or any words that you've spoken, actually it should have a purpose. Okay, so for example, when you're pointing something, it should have a purpose that you're pointing into a specific thing, not just pointing for fun. Okay, you need to, because otherwise they will be, what are you pointing at? So don't let them question the things that you're trying to present, or the things that you demonstrated, but let them know what is it that you're pointing and what is it that you're trying to emphasize on. But actually the most important one is, when you're doing presentation, be comfortable and be yourself. That is the most straightforward advice that I can give. Because if you take a look here, do you know what they have in common? They have different styles. So actually this is captured from the YPWLC 2019. So this is Megan here from UK, and this is me, and Tiago from Brazil, Michael from Australia, Morgan from Canada, Tamlin from South Africa, who is the champion, Tamlin, by the way, and Chua from Singapore, Franklin from Hong Kong, and also Suleiman from Russia. Do you know what they have in common? They are comfortable. The way you see them present, they are very comfortable. For example, you can see Franklin here. He's just enjoying his time there. He's just enjoying his stage. The stage is his. You can see all of them. You cannot see any face of nervousness in them. Except for me, actually I was trembling this time. Because as you can see, it's just the beginning, the introduction slide. So actually my left leg was trembling that time. But somehow I managed to keep up my pace and try to act normal. So actually all of them are being themselves. And they are very comfortable with their presentation. So that is how you get the best out of you. Don't try to be someone who you are not. And most importantly, do not let other people tell you what you cannot do and what you can do. Just be yourself. Okay. So, and then the last thing is having a support group. So doesn't matter what presentation that you're doing, be it casual or be it scientific, you must always have a great support group. Like for me, I have the world's greatest mentors. These are all my mentors who have guided me up to the international stage. So they all gave their constructive feedback on what I should improve. But eventually, of all the inputs and all of the feedbacks that I've implemented, eventually before my final in London, they just mentioned one thing to me. Just be yourself. So that is why I can't keep on stressing that you need to be yourself in order to do your best in any kinds of presentation. Okay, so to master your fear and nerves, remember you have to prepare and practice. So you can practice it in front of your support group, and you have to assume the best of your audience, and you have to, no doubt, you have to embrace your fear. Even though you have stage fright, you have to embrace your fear. You have to love your nerves, and because you are already ready, you just need to take a brave leap to the another side of the mountain. Okay, and before you do a presentation, breathe, let go, and keep on going. Most importantly, have fun. So don't worry about the outcome of the presentation. If it is good, they will love it and they will remember. If it is not so good, it is just subpar, they don't love it and they will usually forget. So don't worry about that. Just do your best. So because scientific communication is very important, so I hope that after the 5-minute FYP competition, you all don't stop there, because there will always be a better opportunity in the future. So you see why I choose this picture here. Actually, this picture is worth 1,000 words. I use this picture in a lot of presentations. Don't stop here. Go further. There are a lot of things for you to unravel. So scientific communication is very important so that you can continue groom your presentation skill, so that you can, in the future, when you are the future leader, you can talk to policymakers. You can talk to the public and tell them the scientific research that you do is actually helpful and beneficial to them, and why should the funders fund your research. So actually it's very important to develop your presentation skill. So don't stop at 5 minutes FYP competition, go further. So yeah, I think that's it about my sharing session. It's a very brief session. I think
You
1
covered
hour.
well within 1 hour. Yes, just nice.
Yeah, within 1 hour. So I
Cool.
wish all of you all the very best.
Thank you, Lam Jia Yong. I'm so used to calling people doctor. So I just want to call you doctor straight away.
Not
Okay.
yet. Fingers crossed. Maybe in the next 3 months.
All right. It won't be so long. Don't worry.
Mm.
Okay. Any question from the floor? Your input is very good actually. I learned a lot. Quite a number of things that we do ourselves as well as a lecturer, like analogy, what you call it, empathy and all that. It's really, really true. Whatever you say is
Yeah.
really true. Okay, question from the floor. Come on, guys. Any question? You can ask here. Switch on your mic. I think you can switch on your mic. Anyone? Switch on your video as well, yeah? Video camera. Okay, no question at the moment. Coming. Hopefully there are. There's one part I wanted to ask. I forgot what it was. Oh, wait. Any question? Hello. Okay, one question from Dominic. Any idea or insight for compressing all idea you research in one slide? Yeah, they are having that doubt now. Because
Okay.
the requirement is one slide and not animated. It has to be static. Okay, any idea?
Actually, I went through that before. So during the 3-minute thesis, it's also one slide, not animated. So I went through a lot of editing as well. So I went through a lot of, because I even presented my 3-minute thesis to my parents.
Oh, cute.
So yeah, so actually they don't have any idea of what I'm doing. But I can give a very important tip is that your research, your FYP, try to highlight the most important and significant part of it, and then put that into the slide. So it doesn't need to be your result, but it can be a problem. So that problem can actually be your one slide. So because that slide is just remember that slide is actually a supplementary just to assist your presentation. So you want them there to listen to your presentation. As I mentioned just now, right? You want them to listen to your presentation and not to look at your slide, because in one slide you cannot list out everything. If you list out everything, it's going to be very crowded, very messy, and people will focus too much on your slide but not focus on your presentation. So actually, I think for me lah, because I'm not sure about the judge's intention as well. So for me, I think I would go for the problem as my one slide instead of the findings in the research project.
All right. Thank you. Any other question?
Excuse me, can you repeat again?
Repeat.
Repeat again. Problems, what problem solutions and insights, right?
Yeah. So actually, it's better for you to put the slide indicating the problem. Okay. So instead of focusing on all the data, all the research data that you have, and you're putting all into one slide, because if you're presenting research data, not many people can actually read or analyze the research data. So it's better to focus on the problem that is relatable back to the audience. So not the problem that is relatable to you only, but to the audience, because they need to know what is it that you are doing. I mean, no doubt you are the expert in your research project, but they need to know, is it relatable back to them? Is it relevant to them?
Okay.
Okay.
You get it, Dominic? You get it?
Get it.
All right.
Okay,
Okay, that's another question from Go Hong Han. During the presentation, would you suggest us to show out our product, like hardware or software, or not?
So I think this is from IT background.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so if your IT background, I would say, yeah, you can just show. I mean, do you mean showing out your product in the one slide?
Yeah, I believe so. Yeah.
If yes, maybe you can put that hardware or software on your slide, but don't put any other thing, just the hardware and software. And
Go is from engineering, so I'm not
okay,
sure what
go
kind
for
of
it.
hardware he has.
Okay, so but never mind whether it's hardware or software, you can just put it inside. Software is a bit hard, but hardware, I think it's easier because you have the rendered image or maybe a prototype that you can put it inside at the center of the slide, and then you yourself can tell them verbally why is this hardware important. Software is a bit hard to me, I feel.
Understand. Okay, question from my side. If you were one of the judges, what would be the three main things you will observe and give marks to?
Okay, the three main things that I would give mark to is the technicality. It should be not too technical, because obviously this is for a larger crowd, larger public. So I wish to see it's not too technical.
Okay.
And second one would be the structure of the way you present your ideas. It needs to have a proper structure. Like I said just now, you need to have an intro, and then your key message, and then most importantly the end. The conclusion there is very important, so that it can summarize all the things that you did. So actually the structure there is very important. And third is definitely the way you present. I mean, the way of presentation, it has to be very well-versed, and it has to be very not, I mean, it's not like scrambling here and there. It needs to be well-versed, and most importantly, if can, more marks will be given to confidence.
True. Confident kah?
Because only if you're confident, then you will share your passion of your research to the larger crowd.
Correct. Not by force, but by the lecturer, no?
Yeah.
Okay, any other question from the floor? Hello? Anyone?
Hi, sir.
Yes, Prakash.
Yeah, I'm Prakash from Ames University. So I have a question on, as previously Sir had said regarding the slides, the preparations on just goes for the problem statements and so on.
Mhm.
From saying what are the products that going to be stated by us. So can I have, sir, can we have some kind of idea or suggestions? How do we describe about our project without showing what is going on with the product? Because we do have lots of results regarding our FYPs and so on.
Mhm.
But will be easily can be conveyed? How do we convey the results in just wordings? Any suggestions on that?
Yeah, for that, actually, good question. You can actually practice the analogy, using analogy to describe your results. So because if you're trying to put all the results back into a single slide, if you're trying to conveying all your FYP data into this presentation, it would be very difficult, too condensed, and people would be very confused of what you're trying to say. So I would suggest to define an analogy for it, for your results, and try to consolidate everything into that analogy. Okay, so don't go too specific, too scientific in your presentation. Use analogy. It can help you to simplify things and also summarize most of your things. I hope that answers the question.
Yeah. Thank you, sir.
Okay, we have time for another question. If there are any question from the floor. From Lee. I understand that a good and strong start necessary. A question from me. I think conclusion is necessary as well. Any way that we could employ on the conclusion? Any tips or trick for us? Talking about conclusion, yeah.
Yeah. So this conclusion here, actually, as I mentioned just now, it's very important that you give your audience closure, so they know whether or not what you did is already achieved, and whether or not it is beneficial to them. So as I mentioned just now, there are many ways to do a conclusion. So you can summarize all your things into 3 statements. What is the problem? This is different from the problem statement and also different from the intro. So this is actually the conclusion part. The 3 statements is actually you're retelling them the problem, and you're giving them back the approach that you're trying to the approach that you're going to do, and also have you achieved it. So that is an example of 3 statements. Otherwise, you can also end it with a well-known quote. So you can just summarize your findings and then just tell them a well-known quote. So it seems impossible until it is done. So I did it. This is the next generation of COVID-19 drug, something like that. Okay, and then you can also end with your personal opinion. Okay, so for your personal opinion, you can just, I mean, depending on your research lah, you can just give your personal opinion. So the personal opinion is something like this. Also, I feel that this could be the next generation method for what so and so. So anyway, you need to give them, the most important thing is you need to give them closure lah. That is very important.
Okay. All right. Next question. I think you can read the question. It's quite long.
Yeah. How should we record the video? Waist above and standing? with Zoom where our video at the right bottom of the slide, or is it better if the slides and video side by side with equal
Yeah,
size?
the new challenge nowadays is virtual.
Yeah. I mean, does the organizing community have any guidelines for the recording video?
Not at the moment.
Oh,
Not
okay.
yet. Mm.
Because last month I was the organizing committee for the materials lecture competition 2020.
Okay.
So they did a virtual competition there, and there are a lot of formats, video formats. So some they use a very typical lecture room, and they did the recording inside the lecture room. Some they make full use of all the video, I mean the ICT department of their university to make a very professional video.
Yeah, I know.
So, I mean, that is a part where I feel that it seems very mixed up. It's not very standardized. But anyway, I can share my experience with YPWLC. In YPWLC, actually, we recorded the video shoulder up. So all the way from shoulder up, not waist, shoulder up. And then, yeah, from the shoulder and up against a white background. And then we control the slides. So actually the video recorder, the one that is doing the recording video, they will edit the recording, sometimes showing we presenting the presentation, and sometimes showing the slide.
I think what we mentioned to the participants last week, last 2 days, was to have it wake up because we want to see the gesture, you see. All the speakers recommend the hand has to be open and all that, but then you are not showing your above below shoulder. Not fair, right?
Yeah, okay. So yeah, actually it depends lah. So if you want to highlight your body language, then you can use waist and above. But actually, I mean, to me lah, I feel that it should be consistent among all participants lah. Otherwise, it would be unfair.
Okay, I think we will come up with the proper guideline in the end. Another thing is, okay, I would like to advise the participants, you are not here joining the competition alone. You have your mentor with you. If you need any help with the setting up the what you call it, the recording and all, you can discuss with your mentor or your supervisor. Probably they can help you. All right, this is my advice lah, especially for university who send more than 2 or 3 participants. Definitely they can help something with the setting up. All right. Okay, there is one question from Muhammad Arif. Any tips to practice to nail the 5-minute pitching, or how do you practice it? Someone advised me is to talk in front of the mirror and set 5-minute timer. This is a lecturer actually.
Well, talking into the mirror also it's also a very good solution. But to me, I would go for friends. I would go to my
not at mama, no.
no, not at mama.
Okay.
So maybe you can your peers and maybe some of your lecturers as well. So if you're very close with some lecturers, you can just I know their schedule is quite packed, but maybe you can just can you spend some time? I need your constructive feedback on my presentation.
Sure.
Because they know the best on how we should scientifically communicate idea in 5 minutes. Because I think lecturers did a lot of pitching as well during funding application. So you can just practice on peers and also your lecturers.
Okay, understand. The previous speaker mentioned that he practiced 100 times a day. What about you?
Oh, okay. The previous speaker is from Fame Lab, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, so that's why I think he can practice 100 times a day, because Fame Lab is actually 3 minutes, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
So for my this international YPWLC one, I practice about 20 times a day.
Okay.
So because it's 15 minutes, so it's very exhausting.
Yes.
To present 15 minutes for 20 times. So I on average, I did 20 times practice a day.
Okay. Don't go below 20, guys. Okay. All right. So, Hafiz asked, does presentation really matter if you have a good research? Is it like 70% research or 30% or presentation or what?
Presentation or what? Well, this is very, very subjective. Like, there's really no percentage on what research is and presentation is. But I can point out that in research, presentation is a must.
Yes.
Yeah, you cannot avoid presentation because you need to present your ideas to policymakers and also funders in order for them to fund your research and to do better things and to do even much more in-depth things. So I think it's hand in hand, presentation and also research.
I actually believe that if you have a very good research, but you cannot get others to understand what you're trying to contribute with your research, it will be quite a waste lah. That's
Yeah.
the thing. I think
That's
it's like
true.
that. Okay, Dominic has another question. A question here: did we need to reinstate our research title? Is your title long, Dominic?
My title very long for me it's very long about maybe 30-second one shot.
Make it shorter. Analogy.
Yeah. Maybe you can make it shorter. Like actually, from what I saw previously in previous contestant, she's actually working on the development of a engine sealer. So that's why I used the example just now. Engine sealer for wind turbine and also jet engine, some sort of thing. I can't remember, but
Wow.
he just changed that into a very simple title, which is the world's super. That is how he used the analogy in her title as well.
Oh, okay. So you have to have like a catchy title lah, Dominic,
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah.
Catchy and straightforward. People look at it, they know what it is roughly. It's a challenge for you. Discuss with your mentor.
Yeah. It's a challenge lah, but you learn from the challenge. It will be beneficial to you.
Okay, one more question from Go. During the presentation, the camera need to be static, fixed, or view. I think yeah.
Yeah, it needs to be fixed lah. It needs to be static lah. Otherwise, I will be very dizzy looking at if the camera is moving.
Yeah.
But if you have very good editing skills and if it is allowed in this competition, then I think you can just go ahead. Maybe you can just have a cinematographer for you to do your video.
Okay. All right. Any more question? You're welcome, Go. Any more question? We still have 10 minutes if we have any more questions. Any supervisors here who would like to ask questions on behalf of the participants? No? Counting one. Counting twice. During your competition, Lam, did they tell you or you have another 1 minute to go, those kind of thing? It's kind of pressure, no?
During the national level in Malaysia, yeah, they do have the time limit indication during the semi-final, but not the final. Because final, they wanted to make it fair and square. So if you exceeded time, they will minus mark. If you speak too soon, then they will also minus mark. So actually, the time limit, because when I was presenting there, I don't really notice the time limit.
That's the thing. So how did you know when to stop or whether you already exceeded the minute?
Actually, you can time your presentation through the practice. 20 times practice a day is really a good way to control your time.
No wonder you practice a lot. Okay.
Yeah, so that's why if the time limit indicator is there, I don't really pay attention to it.
All right. Question anymore? Guys, any more question? No? Okay, the last part is the group photo session, but before that, do you have any final words, Lam?
For final words, I would say that just be comfortable and be yourself. I mean, that is what my mentors told me before I went for the final. So just be comfortable and be yourself. And you, I mean, practice, you need to practice, obviously. You need to practice because practice makes perfect. And doesn't matter what is the outcome of the competition, you did your best. And I hope that you do not give up. Contestants do not give up, but continue striving for greatness. I wish all of you all the very best.
Thank you. All right, I release you from the slide share.
Okay.
Okay. Wait, I'm also not showing you in this. Okay, wait, Dr. Harun, are you here? Hello? Wait, this is not a good share. Wait, Okay. All right, everybody, can you switch on all your cameras? I want to take a picture of everyone. Wait, I'm trying to close everything. Good. Okay, there will be 3 frames here, so I'll be capturing 3 times. So everybody, okay, cheese. One. Okay, wait. Oh, wait. Okay, number 2. You don't know which frame you are in, so you have to say cheese all the way. Wait. Okay, number 2. Okay, cheese. Okay. 2. Number 2. All right. Okay, number 3. Tom did not switch on the camera. Okay, everybody, cheese. Okay, wait. Oh. Wait. Okay, number 3. 1, 2, 3, cheese. Okay. All right. Okay, I think that's it from me and Lam. So everybody happy? Thank you very much for your participation today. And we will share the video once it is ready. Wait, I'm trying to change my screen. I don't know where it is already. Okay, never mind. Okay, thank you very much, Lam, for your time and your
Thank you for inviting me.
expert sharing. Thank you. Okay, thank you everyone. Bye.
Thanks.
See you
Bye.
next time. Okay, bye. Okay.